Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sherman D. Manning. Sherman D. Manning joining you live from South Central Los Angeles, California. It's all about Hillary now, baby. Bernie has done a tremendous job of raising the level of awareness and the excitement of young people in this country. And he has started a beautiful, thought-provoking, and excellent moment. Now the key is to make the moment a movement. And I think that that is a strong possibility. But at the same time, Bernie did not win the nomination for the Democratic Party. Hillary did. And so all of us who support Bernie and wanted him to win must now begin to organize and galvanize in order to ensure that Donald gets nowhere near the nukes, period. And the way we do that is by getting out the vote in November. Everybody must vote. Everybody must vote. It's not sit at home and be mad. It's not sit at home and point fingers and simply call the guy what he is, which is a racist. But it is about doing something about him being a racist. And what we do about him being a racist is we never allow him at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The way you deny Donald entrance is you get up off your hind part, get up off your posterior anatomy, get up and quit resting upon your laurels. Go out to your local polling place in November and cast your vote for Madam Hillary Clinton. This is what must happen. This is what should happen. This is what we must do to prevent Donald from going to the people's house, which is the White House. And so I'm asking every American, my fellow Americans of great conscience, good citizenship, etc., to get up and cast your vote in November. If you don't vote, you don't count. Vote as you please, but please vote. This is how democracy works. Gossiping is not a democracy. Being angry is not a democracy. Simply saying he's a racist and a fascist is not a democracy. That's gossip. That doesn't effect change. We need to effect change. So I'm doing my duty as a podcaster by reminding you to get up and vote in November. Imagine Donald on the playground at the sandbox telling other little boys that mine is bigger than yours is. Imagine Donald negotiating a peace treaty with another country. I can't imagine that. Imagine him dealing with Kim Jong-un and dealing with Putin. Imagine Donald, a beauty pageant owner, a man who has no experience whatsoever in the seriousness of elective office. He's never been a mayor. He's never been a governor. He's never been a senator. He's never held office. The only office he's ever held is the office of his own self-aggrandizement as a beauty pageant owner, as a narcissist, as a person who is obviously psychologically disturbed and psychologically damaged, a person who can never hear you did a good job enough, a man who has a severe psychological problem. And I say that with all sincerity. I mean, obviously I don't like the guy. That's obvious. I mean, that goes without saying. But there's a lot of people I don't like who don't have mental problems. There's a lot of people I don't like for whatever the reasons are that I don't like them, but I don't accuse them of being crazy. But Donald has a problem. And if you can't see that, then perhaps you should be in my office first thing Monday morning and I'll have a psychologist meet you there. Just think about it. Someone gives me a pat on the back, it makes me feel pretty good. I'm human, Humans like to hear, hey, that's a nice tie you have on. That's human nature. We might pretend we don't like compliments, but we do. But for a person who starves and craves it the way he does, and I've met only a few people like that in my lifetime who are that damaged that you could tell them, hey, you look nice. And 5 minutes later, they need to be reaffirmed again and again and again and again. That is Donald. That is Donald. He needs to hear it hundreds of times per day, and it's still never enough. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not an act. This is not, I wish it were an act. He'd deserve an Academy Award. That's not an act. That is his nature. That is what he is about. That is his psyche. That is his psychological approach to life. That is what's wrong with him. This man cannot hear great job enough. They say enough is enough. Enough is never enough for him. I've given speeches wherein after I gave the speech, someone came along and said, you did a great job. And then 20 or 30 people would shake my hand and say the same thing over and over again. And eventually it was enough. I got tired of it. I was like, okay, I got the point. It is your opinion that I did a great job. Thank you so much. And I received that humbly. To God be the glory. My practices, my studies, my rehearsals have paid off. And I'm glad to hear that. But at some point, I've had enough. After 20 or 30, this is the kind of guy who, if he were walking down a receiving line and there were 5,000 people there and he had time to shake each one of their hands, hearing great job from 5,000 of them would still not be enough. After the 5,000th great job, Donald, 5 minutes later, he would be sitting down doing a television interview and he would say, I think I did a great job. And this is ludicrous. This is what we call psychological illness. This is psychological illness. And I know Hillary can't talk about this. She can't challenge his psychosis because she's not a psychologist. Neither am I. But since I'm not running for president, I can challenge any doggone thing I want to challenge. And I am challenging his sanity. I am telling you that there's something seriously, severely wrong with this man. And we cannot allow a person that unstable to be anywhere near the codes to the nuclear arsenal of the most powerful country on the face of the planet. I'm Sherman D. Manning, author of 22 books, including The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. These books are available in local bookstores. They are available also online. They are available at Amazon.com. I encourage you to get my books. Get the new book, The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. And I also encourage you to visit www.napsusa.org. That is N as in needle, A as in apple, P as in Paul, S as in Sherman, USA.org. Visit the website and see what you think about it. Remember, we can never let Donald anywhere near the nuclear arsenal. And the way we deny him that opportunity is we get out and we vote. And we vote in large blocks and we vote in large numbers. And we make sure that what we think about this country is represented at the polls. Get out the vote. I'm Sherman D. Manning. May I remind you again to get the truth about O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. It is available at local bookstores as well as on Amazon.com. Also, send me an email and let me know you heard this podcast. Email me at shermandmanning@gmail.com. That is shermandmanning@gmail.com. Anybody listening to me in Sacramento, California tonight, email me. Let me know you heard this. Come on. Email me. It's just an email. shermandmanning@gmail.com. Anybody in Los Angeles listening to me live, email me. And if you're not listening to me live, if you hear me later on, email me and tell me you heard it. Tell me what topics you would like to see me discuss. ShermanDManning@gmail.com. Wherever you are listening, certainly. And I said I would have the demographics here with me. I apologize that I don't, but ladies and gentlemen, I have been running like crazy, and I just haven't had time to do some of the things I want to do. But I know that someone in Barbados, has been listening to this podcast, and people in the Netherlands have been listening to this podcast, and folk in Finland have been listening to this podcast. And I want some of you in other countries who have been listening and are listening to send me an email and tell me that you heard us. Email me today at ShermanDManning@gmail.com. We are available to speak at your organization, at your university, at your church, to talk about our books, to talk about criminal justice, to talk about current events, to talk about politics. Text us at 404-386-9356. You better write that number down. I'm not going to be giving that out very much. I've already had to change the number 3 times since I've been out. I'm not going to give that very much. I'm going to give it one more time in exactly 3 minutes. So get a pen if you didn't have one earlier. Get a pen, get a pen, get a pen. I'm going to give you a number to which you might text Sherman D. Okay? Are you ready? I said 3 minutes. That's more like 45 seconds, but let me get it off my chest. 404-386-9356. That's 386-9356. An Atlanta area code. And yes, I am in Los Angeles, California doing this podcast. And yes, Atlanta is my home. I am Atlanta born, Atlanta bred. When I die, I'll be Atlanta dead. Atlanta is the city that's too busy to hate. The greatest city in the United States of America is Atlanta. And I'm longing to be home. And we'll get there, hopefully, with deliberate speed. But in the meantime and in between time, I want you to get involved. We have to figure out a way to get more young people involved with politics, to get them to understand how serious this is, how interesting it is. Politics are actually fascinating. And what I've come to understand and what I've learned is that many young people have no clue. They don't understand politics. But once you sit down and break it down to them and begin to explain it to them, they become fascinated with it and very, very interested in it, because it is a fascinating and interesting thing. And so what I would like to see is more young people get involved with politics. It's fascinating. Let's make it fun. Let's make it exciting. And we can do that. All we have to do is bring the issues to the young people, explain it to them, and they can handle it. They can handle it. Young people are very, very sharp, very, very intelligent. They are thinking beings. They can handle it. They can handle it. Again, I'm going to remind you, do not let Donald get anywhere near the White House. And the way you prevent that from happening is you vote. And you have to vote for Hillary. Bernie's out of it. Let's be pragmatic. Pragmatists know that he's out of it. And so as much as we like his ideology, as much as we like his idealism, as much as we like his ideas about disrupting and disbanding the banks and free college education for everybody, I support that 100%. I mean, they do it in Switzerland. They do it in other countries. And I'd like to eventually take a look at what's going on in Finland and in Switzerland and in some other countries, and perhaps we could model some of what they're doing. And I know all the arguments. Well, not all the arguments. I know some of the arguments. I've heard some of the arguments about this is not Marxism in this country, et cetera, so forth and so on. And I get that. But still, we should do something to get our kids educated. And it should not break the bank. It should not drive their family into debt for the next 30 years just because they want to get an education. Again, I'm Sherman D. Manning. Email me at ShermanDManning@gmail.com. Let me know you heard this podcast. Tell your friends to listen and tune in. Get a copy of The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice on Amazon.com and at local bookstores. This is a book that I think everyone should read. It's very, very important. Sherman D. Manning signing off for now. Goodbye.